What is up, YouTube? Cloud Envy here, and welcome to Season 1, Week 1 of the PMC, and you'll see our first opponent is Casey. That is Infraready, coach of the Pittsburg Steelix. I almost forgot, but I'm right there. And as you see, he's got a pretty dangerous team: Klefki, Mega Slowbro, Landorus, Gastrodon, Scrafty, and Electros. But, I mean, we predicted 5 out of 6, so really not that bad. I'm really interested to see what he does with the Gastrodon. We do have Tangela, we have Energy Ball on guard wear, so I really think, and Grass Knot on Infernip. I really don't think that's going to pose too much of a threat, but you never know. At the same time though, I'm ready to jump into this. Let's get going. Alright, so Casey's going to issue that challenge, and he's going to start off with Fleshlight. What a great thing to see as the first nickname of the first week. So, fun story, I knew he was going to go for Giga Drain. I spent all of the time calcing for a switch in, and the game chose a move randomly. It just happened to be the best possible move. I guess he didn't have as much special attack investment as I expected. It did not kill, and I wanted to go for Rocks, but that would still pose a threat of having Electros out in the first place. Roar made that not happen, and Gastrodon didn't kill Swampert. So we ended up getting our Rocks off, and Electros not being on the field. I'm not gonna lie, that's probably the luckiest thing that could have possibly happened this match. God only knows what would have happened if we'd gone for Earthquake. That would have been terrible. But we do have a Rocks up. Unfortunately, Trib just falls. We couldn't really switch him out after the infestation, and honestly, at that point, I didn't really see it as worth it. We're gonna get Frank out here. He's gonna trace that Storm Drain, but it's really not gonna matter because he's gonna call that Turbo out, and we are gonna see Pokemon, the Klefki. That's a shiny little Klefki, but I really do not want to see Frank get paralyzed. We are going to hit this Energy Ball, and that does a lot more than I expected. And we get the special Death Drop, so honestly, I would have stayed in and gone for, I think Moonblast did the most damage. But again, I really feared the T-Wave, so we switched out into Stormcaller. He's going to exert that pressure, and it's lucky because he goes for the T-Wave, and we called that one perfectly, and I'm okay with that. But he switches Klefki out of there. I guess he expected a Thunderbolt or Volt switch. So he goes into Turbo, and surprise, surprise, we are carrying U-turn! And specifically, well, I expected like Lando T to switch in and eat an electric attack. That's why we had U-turn. I didn't expect Gastrodon. Now I'm even happier that we tagged it in. So we're going to switch into Ragama from here. And I figured he was probably going to switch out, but at the same time, Leaf Storm does a lot of damage to virtually everything on his team. I couldn't resist clicking it. So we're going to see Fleshlight again, but the Leaf Storm misses, which just really sucks, because that Electros poses so much of a threat, and that would have done at least 50%. So, Frank's coming back out. We are going to trace that Levitate for no specific reason, and we're going to eat an Acid Spray. That threw me off. I did not expect to see Acid Spray. And that really goes to show how dangerous this Electros really is, because Gardevoir is really one of my only switch-ins for it, and not only is Acid Spray super effective, but it lowers the Spadef. And I'm not okay with that. So we're going to go into Stormcaller. I wasn't sure what he wanted to do, so we went for, well, he went for the Volt Switch. And he goes into Landorus. I was a little worried here, but this really made me think it was Scarfed. I'm thinking, alright, perfect. We're going to go for that HP Ice, we're going to catch him off guard, and he's going to switch out. Well, that kind of ruined the whole day. He's going to go into Slowbro. And I'm so mad at this point, because the Slowbro eats this HP Ice, and I'm thinking, damn, I can't use an attack. That completely gave my Scarf away. That was such a good maneuver on his part. So we have to call back Zapdos. I feel like it's obvious that it's Scarfed at this point. And he makes the safer play again and switches from Slowbro back into Gastrodon, just in case I wasn't Scarfed and went for the Electric Attack. So again, we're sitting here Ragamuffin versus Turbo, and I couldn't be happier about this. So he switches Gastron back out, and I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I have no idea why I didn't go for Leaf Storm here. I think I was more so concerned about having Electros stay on the board, but at the same time, if I'd gone for Leaf Storm, it would only take one hit to knock it out. But at the same time, I really couldn't have anything on my team afford to get hit by it. It does at least 30% to everything. I assumed he was going to go for the Volt Switch. He was already seeded. I felt like Fortress was a safer play. And if he'd gone for the Flamethrower, I would have just fell on the floor and died. But he's going to go into Landers. Get that Intimidate off. It doesn't really matter. Our only physical attack is Rapid Spin. But his Landy gets up with Stealth Rock. And that's got me thinking, okay, there's no way it's Scarfed, we're fine. So we're going to drop some Toxic Spikes. Fortress has both Toxic Spikes and regular Spikes. So we're pretty set here. So he's going to switch out in the Arts and scratch the Scrafty. And by this point, I know he's got to at least be planning to set up. Because there's no other reason to bring out on a Fortress. Luckily, it does get poisoned. We go for the Rapid Spin. Get the rocks away. And I figured, since he switched out after the rocks and didn't U-turn, that Lando had to be Scarfed. So we're gonna switch out into Ragamuffin, and he already started Dragon Dancing, and it was just such a struggle. I knew this was what was gonna happen, and I tried as hard as I could to prepare for it. So he's gonna eat a little more poison damage. By this point, we're no longer faster. He goes for the knockoff, gets a crit, and we lost our EV Light. That right there, that's a day ruiner. But we do land this Leaf Storm. We do manage to land it. And I am so happy that out of all these turns, Shed Skin has not activated, and he ends up going down from the poison. And again, that could not have ended any better than it did. So he goes into Fleshlight again. And I know my safest bet was to go into Infernape. I'm not gonna lie, I really just wanted to show off the power swap. Because I know we could survive the Flamethrower with him at -2 attack. But he got the burn. And I was so upset because not only could we have killed Electros, but we could have saved Tangela with Regenerator. If we hadn't gotten burnt. But, you know, it happens. So we're gonna go into Red Rocket. And he knows what's going to happen. If he were to stay in, Infernape would absolutely murder that thing. So he goes into Slowbro, who's going to get poisoned. First of all, going to get poisoned. Second off, going to take this close combat like it's nothing. Oh my lord, that is some butt. So Red Rocket's dropping his defense, dropping his special defense. Slowbro's losing more HP, and I'm thinking, do I want to go for the Grass Knot? No, I'm gonna fake him out. Infernape doesn't do that much damage. We might be able to make him think we're banded for now. So we switch into Frank and get that Regenerator off. He's going to switch Slowbro back out. I really expected him to go for the Scald. If, at the very least, a Calm Mind. But he goes into Landy. And Frank is not prepared for this. I'm not prepared to let her get hit by this. Him. Oh, Lord. So we double back into Bruce Willis. I keep using terms like that, and it's just not proper. I'm sorry. But he makes a pretty solid play here, goes for the U-turn, and Casey's he's very, very good at keeping momentum in the game. He is. By this point, I've realized it, but have been unable to stop it. So, I'm not about to let Fortress sit in there and die. And his only real move is to go for the Flamethrower. So this is our chance. We're going to go back into Infernape. Infernape's going to eat that Flamethrower really well. It's not Stab. His special attack, I'm convinced is not max. And it's Infernape. So we're going to go for another close combat. He switches into the Slowbro again, just ready to take it. By this point, he's already damaged from the last hit. And the poison's taking its toll even after our Generator. So we lose some D, we lose some Special D. He's hurt by more poison. And luckily that puts him right on the 50% mark, if not a little bit lower. So he's going to Mega. And I took a big risk. I took a giant risk doing this, but we went for the Grass Knot. And I was really concerned because I didn't want to take the chance on switching. Like, at this... Excuse me. Like, I understand it loses Regenerator after Megas, but it gets really, really buff. So, Lando's coming back out, and Red Rocket's got 1 kill under his belt. He's done here. He's out of here. We cannot take a Lando. We're going to go back into Bruce Willis. So he goes for this Rock Slide, and it misses. It fucking misses. He goes for another Rock Slide. That one hits. And it makes up for his miss, because, well, I think it makes up because we flinched, so he gets a double hit anyway. So I really should have gone for the regular spikes instead of the toxic spikes. But we go for a second layer of toxic spikes, eat our cut stop berry, and then we start dropping some real spikes down. And at this point, I'm completely okay with Fortress dying. It's obvious that Landorus is scarfed now. And him putting rocks up is not a giant concern of mine. So, by all means, I would gladly sack Fortress to get both layers of toxic spikes up, and 2 of spikes. Again, in all reality, I should have just gone for 3 regular spikes and kept my 1 layer of toxic, but what are you going to do? So we go back into Stormcaller and try to scare this Lando out. He knows we're scarred at this point. Even though he's going for Rock Slides, he knows he's knocking out speed and goes back into Turbo. And this Gastrodon, it's honestly doing a lot more than I anticipated. It is. So he's going to get Toxic Poison. He's going to lose some life from those spikes. And lose some life from Stealth Rocks. We do go for the HP Ice, but it really doesn't do anything. That forces me to assume, like, I know it kind of had to be specially defensive, but this just proves it, because it's not a stab, it's 60 damage and it's neutral, but at the same time, it's still a Zapdos. So we're going to go back into Frank, and kind of just predict a little bit here. We do gain the Storm Drain, and he goes to the Scald, but it raises our special attack, and I could not be happier, because I was not prepared to let anything on my team get scalded or burned, for that matter. And, excuse me, I guess he figured at this point there really wasn't much reason to keep Gastrodon alive, so he kind of just sacked it off to a Moonblast. And I think that was probably his strongest play. It does give him a slight advantage on what he wants to send in against Gardevoir, which is real. It's very real, because I can do decent damage as Klefki. I can. But I'm not trying to give anything away. He's going to eat a Citrus Berry up. But you'll see in a minute that we can't touch this thing. So I'm going to switch out, expecting the T-Wave again. We're going to go back into Stormcaller, just hoping that we can get the advantage here. And he just sets up a Calm Mind. And I'm sitting here like, oh my god, I lose. Oh my god, he's running Calm Mind Klefki. This is not something I see it too often. So I'm not about to deal with this. I don't want to let him set up, and I know Zapdos isn't going to be able to do the amount of damage I needed to. So we have to U-turn, and I notice we go first, which means going for a damaging attack. And that was terrifying, because I sent in Infraready to eat a +1 Draining Kiss, and thank God it wasn't like Moonblast, because, good lord, that would have been awful. But he does utilize the Prankster ability, and he does go for the T-Wave here. Luckily, we prepared for this moment. Infraready was holding that Lumberry specifically for this T-Wave, so that he could go in there and get that one-shot Flare Blitz off. And I was so happy. I thought he was going to double out. I thought my recoil was going to kill me because he doubled out. And I'm insanely happy we did that, because without that move, there was no way I'd be able to take out that Klefki. So Landy comes back in. And at this point in the battle, I feel like it's just in my best interest to let Infraready die. It did really well, but if I switched out, it would have run risk of, if he'd gone for Rock Slide, Zapdos could have been really, really hurt, and then he could just double out into Electros. Gardevoir wouldn't want to take that, but this is the best route I think it could have gone, U-turning into killing Infraready, so we get a fresh setup against Fleshlight. And we're going to trace the Levitate. Again, it's really not anywhere near important. I'm just talking to talk. And I realize at this point we have the upper hand. We can go for a Moonblast, take down Electros. Landorus can come in, it can get Gardevoir, and then Zapdos comes in and finishes the game. We can get a nice clean 1-0, and it was a great match. And I'm anticipating all this, and I'm sitting, waiting, and just so much excitement. And he goes to the Rock Slide, and Frank lives with like a third of his health. And I'm thinking, oh my god, that's right. I put 248 HP investment there. So luckily, Gardevoir was able to eat that hit. I still don't completely understand how. Even with the HP investment, I feel like it wasn't a whole lot. But regardless, Casey, man, that match was great. It was so much fun, and it was going both ways for so long. I'd really like to do this again. But guys, feel free to check his channel out. Like, really, he's a really good battler. Like, I underestimated him, and I really should not have done that. But you'll find the link to his channel down in the description. Be sure to check him out. Be sure to come back next week. Slam that like. If you're not part of the Hidden Cloud Village, sub on up. But until then, stay frosty.